Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to now start on our introduction to ecology, and we're going to be focusing on, for the rest of this week and a majority of next week, the organization of ecology, how everything fits within each other, with and around each other, and how we have categorized life, basically, because we like to put things in categories. So first off, what is ecology? Ecology is the study of interactions between organisms and their world, the living and non-living. And we need to go over some vocabulary before we go any further on that. But the key theme here is interconnectedness or interdependence. Every bit of life requires every other bit of life to function. Everything's heavily interconnected and reliant on each other. If one thing fails, it causes a ripple effect throughout the ecosystem. So let's go over some key vocabulary you all will need to know. The first one is biotic factor. Bio means life, so anything that is a biotic factor is a living component of the environment. This is us, fish, spiders, strawberries, bacteria, fungus. Anything that qualifies as a living thing is a biotic factor. The opposite of that is abiotic. So, an abiotic factor is anything that's non-living. So, sun, rain, temperature, soil, pH levels, the air around you, concrete, buildings, cars, anything like that is abiotic. The next vocab word is habitat. And this one should be simply straightforward. It's a place where you guys live or where any organism lives. It's this area that it resides in. But that can be very different from an organism's niche or niche. The niche of an organism is its job, what it does in its environment, its role to play. This will include biotic and abiotic factors. An organism can play many different roles. For instance, think of all of the little jobs or designations you may have been assigned throughout your life. For instance, I fulfill the role of teacher, human, female, wife, daughter, mother, granddaughter, niece, college student, employee. All of those are considered roles that I fulfill. Think of all the ones that you guys fulfill in your society. The next vocab word that is pretty much a review for you guys is producer. This is an organism that makes its own food. There are two types. You know the photosynthesizing producer. Takes sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and makes sugar in the form of glucose. This is some protists, some bacteria, and the plants you know and love. The others go through something called chemosynthesis. Now, why would something need chemosynthesis versus photosynthesis? So, any sort of situation where light is not available, these producers rely on the chemicals surrounding them. This could be in a cave, in a deep sea vent, in a very dark, light-deprived area. So what they'll do is they'll pull the chemicals around them, usually in the form of carbon dioxide, water, and hydrogen sulfide, and they'll turn that into sugar and sulfur compounds. Sometimes sulfuric acid, too. The photosynthetic and the chemosynthetic food chains are quite opposites of each other. Photosynthetic is top-down, chemosynthetic is bottom-up. Usually it starts at the bottom of the ocean and moves its way up to the other producers and carnivores. Another review term is consumer. This is an organism that obtains nutrients. This includes fungus, some bacteria and protists, and anything you know that consumes their food. Herbivore. This is an organism that only eats plant material. Deer, rabbit, hamsters. Omnivores are organisms that eat both plant and animal matter. This includes bears, squirrels, humans. Dogs are considered omnivores. They're also in the same family as bears. And actually, herbivore, omnivore, and the next one, carnivore, are not just determined based on what they eat. You can actually determine whether an animal is a carnivore, herbivore, or omnivore by looking at their teeth and their intestinal tract. Depending on which your body is meant to have, you will have a specific length of intestinal tract and specific teeth. Our body is very well suited to be omnivores. We have the in-between intestinal length, and we have both types of teeth in our mouth, which suggests that we need both types of food, plant and meat. Carnivores, of course, are organisms that only eat meats or other animal materials. Killer whales, lions, pelicans, cats. Actually, if a cat goes without essential protein, a house cat goes without essential protein for too long, it will go blind or have liver damage from it. It requires meat. It's not an omnivore. The next one is a decomposer. This is an organism, of course, that breaks down organic materials and absorbs the nutrients. Keyword there, absorb. So these are members of fungi and certain members of kingdom bacteria. Now, let's look at how all of these living things are stacked together, because you need to know a little more detailed about the levels of organization. Now, in Chapter 3, we went over the levels of organization. But now we need to go into more detail, because as I stated, this unit is all about how life is organized in and around each other. So I want you to think back, and I want to see if you can remember the levels of organization from atom to organism. So the levels of organization each have certain properties about them that tell it apart from the other levels. And ecology itself is the study of those interactions between and within those levels, and recognizing all of the differences in those levels as well. So for the levels of organization, subatomic particle, you didn't have to say that because I said atom. Atom, molecule, macromolecule, organelle, cell, tissue, organ, organ system, organism. If you did that list, you got it. Now we're going to jump back into the last one, organism. The organism is an individual, the simplest level of organization in ecology standards. It's the most complex in terms of what we've covered before, but we are going to start now at organism. So it's just an individual. So an example of this is one human, one cat, one fish, one dog, one mouse, one bacteria. The next level of organization is called a population. This is all of the one type of animal living or organism living in one place. It could be all the blades of grass in a field, all the fish of one type in this lake, all of the people that live in liddets, all of the squirrels that live in liddets. But it's all of one type of organism that live in one place at one time. From there we have community. This is all of the organisms living together in one area, one time. All of the biotic components. So all of the bacteria, all of the fungus, all of the protists, all of the animals, all of the plants, all together in one community interacting together. The next level is ecosystem. Now we have the biotic plus the abiotic. So the sunlight, the air, the dirt, the temperature, the soil content, the chemicals. If you're living in a more industrialized or civilized area, the concrete, the buildings, the cell phones, all of those would be a part of that ecosystem as the abiotic part. From there, we get larger in size and move on to biome. Biome is a very large area that has a very particular species, temperatures, climates in a specific area of the world. We have 7 terrestrial biomes, which mean land biomes, and we have several aquatic biomes we're going to be going over next week. Examples of this biomes, which should be familiar to you, are tundra, taiga, temperate forests, tropical rainforest, grasslands, deserts. You should be very familiar. And last but not least is biosphere. It's that thin layer of the earth and the atmosphere where all life exists. So that is our biosphere. We can look at this from beginning to end. Atom to biosphere. Gigantic levels of organization, big jumps in terms of complexity and inclusion. So I want you to actually practice your knowledge of this with the activity shown below, this one on Moodle. Let me go over what this is really quick. It's a Lion King terminology search. You're going to watch a clip in that activity from The Lion King, from the opening of The Lion King, and you're going to come up with examples of the key words that I just went over. Biosphere, biome, ecosystem, community, population, organism. Give me a couple examples of some of those things. Carnivore, omnivore, things like that. I want you to just watch through it as many times as you can and come up with 1 to 2 examples of each of the listed vocab I've just gone over. Most of them should be a review. Now you're actually applying this. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to sign off and let you get to work.